All right. Our inspiration today comes from Martin Luther King Jr. Forgiveness is not an occasional act, it is a constant attitude. For any of you, before I forget, because it's not in my notes, for any of you who were planning on going down to the MLK Parade with Rotary on Monday, they have canceled our group because the weather's gonna be so cold. So don't drive down there planning to do the walk on Monday, please. Adrian, would you like to come up?
Ooh, and thank you all for braving the wind. So we're so excited to have as our speaker, Tony Auciello. So welcome. And we have Diane Garsauer. Dan Sauer. Almost sauerkraut, she told me. And be nice because she's thinking of joining and she's a guest of Kim's. So thank you. And we have Chad Johnston, who's a guest of Peyton. All right. And he's also thinking of joining. So we have to be on our best behavior today. So welcome to everybody.
Thank you, Adrian. All righty. Thank you. I don't remember what comes next. It's been a busy week. All right. We have January birthdays, lots of birthdays this month. So to all of you who have, I saw a couple of you. I know I saw Nick come in. So I know he's, oh, and Corey's here. So happy birthday to everyone who has a birthday this month. And we have our, it's not letting me advance. We have our Rotary anniversaries, and I just want to give a special shout out to Ron Larson, who I think I saw, didn't I? Yeah. There he is. Congratulations, Ron. 40 years. So quite an accomplishment. Thank you very much for your commitment to Rotary. Yeah, and Bob Wallace is 21 or 31 years. So, but I didn't see him. I didn't think so. Couple Rotarians in the wild. Thank you guys for sending these. You can see Erica and Jen and is that Todd? So I lost my glasses yesterday, so I'm kind of flying blind. Literally, Peyton and I ran into each other and Chad also at a chamber event. And then we have our peace committee that was at Starbucks. So this is really kind of a fun way to celebrate that we all get together outside of club meetings Friday mornings. So keep sending these our way if you would, please. All right, Jen, you're up.
Okay, this is a special day. I'd like to have Jennifer and Peyton come up, please. It is Red Badge graduation. I don't know if you guys remember being the Red Badgers, but you can't wait to get the red badge off. So we're gonna go through our little ceremony here. As you all know, the purpose of the Red Badge program is to help integrate our newer members into the Evergreen Rotary family and to help them find their path to a rewarding experience with us, living out the Rotary motto of service above self. Please join me in congratulating Peyton and Jennifer for graduating from the Red Badge program.
Yeah, you've been out there a while.
Thank you, guys.
Yes,
Thank you.
I was a little slow getting my red badge.
Oh, yeah, no worries.
I'm going to go get it for you. Okay, okay.
Thank you. Yeah, okay. Okay, now I'm gonna have two more people come up and they don't know that they're getting called up here. I am going to have Ron Larson and Jerry Benner come up here. This is a segment that we call Getting to Know You. This is where we get to know a newer member to our club and then older member to our club. 40-year member to our club.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So I'm gonna ask you each a question. You're gonna give your answer to the club so that we can get to know you a little better. Cool? All right, cool. First question, if you had a superpower, what would it be and why?
Like the Invisibles, the cartoon, the girl that could, the one that could speed, the one that could like race real fast.
Invincible.
Oh, Invincibles, yes, close enough. It's been a while. Incredibles, yes, yes. Close enough. Ron?
Well, I think it'd be great to fly. And I'd like to be like Superman and just be able to, take off and just be someplace else instantaneously. I could be great.
Awesome. Okay, next question. Favorite book of all time and why? Or how it's inspired you?
Pillars of the Earth.
Oh,
It's a great book. It's a
Lessons
big
in
book, but
chemistry.
it's a great book.
Hey, awesome. That's it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you for being our guinea pigs today, Jerry and Ron. All right. I know, there we go. All right, announcements for this morning. Denim and Diamonds, February 7th, please get your tickets. And we're very appreciative to all of you who've made donations. We would love to have a really good turnout. The night of the event is all the fun. The committee has put together a really fun evening, amazing food, good music. No pressure to make donations that night. Doug has posters, the big ones and the little ones back at his table back there. So pick one up, hang it up at your place of business, your favorite coffee shop, wherever you can. Help us get the word out. This is open to the whole community, not just Rotarians and not just Evergreen people. So please help us sell some tickets. It's $45 and that includes your dinners or your heavy appetizers, which is a lot of food. So please come out and join us. It's really a good time and a great way to build community. Foundation dinner is on February 1st at Wings Over the Rockies. I know the Bradleys are going, we're going. We would love it if we could get a table of Evergreen people. So if you're going, let me know and I will ask district to put us all together at 1 or even 2 tables. But I believe ticket sales end January 24th, if I'm not mistaken. So it says the 23rd. Thank you. My notes are right. So go ahead and sign up for your ticket. It's really going to be an amazing event. Rotary International President Stephanie Urchik is coming in. She's going to speak. So it's really exciting. And I was asked to remind everyone again about Rotary Convention in Calgary. So that's June 21st through 25th. And you can register on the district website for that as well. All right, general announcements. Please come up and make sure you stand behind the podium so our Zoomers can see you and state your name for the scribes.
Go first. Good morning. I finally have gotten the tour surrounding the international convention put together. Everything is selling out big time up there. Hotels, what's left are like $455 a night hotels. I was able to secure 39 seats on the Rocky Mountaineer tour, but it's going to be before the convention. And you start in Vancouver and you do 2 days on the Rocky Mountaineer, and I got a gold leaf. So that's the fancy schmancy one way up on top. And then you do a motor coach up until you get to Calgary. You go to Banff, Jasper, and I also secured 10 rooms at a hotel. So if you don't have rooms and you're on my trip to begin with, then you can have those rooms. But if you're going to the convention, get your hotel rooms and your flights now, because they are going like on. So hope to see anybody. If anybody wants to go, Jennifer at specialtytravel.com. You can email me and I'll get you on the list. Thank you.
Richard Ayler, Echo Food Drive Share. Just wanted to give a quick thanks for all the donations. Thank you all so much for your generosity in donating to those in need. And I also wanted to just say I volunteer as well at the Echo Shelter, which is in my church at Church of the Hills in the basement there. And right now we have about 14 guests, and that's just an amazing operation over there. You heard presentations last summer from me, but also Tim Clancy as well came and spoke to us. And they are still in need of volunteers. And right now we're in the heart of the season, particularly weekends like this when it's going to get so cold. We're going to actually try to stay open during the day a couple of days, just so people aren't out in the cold. And so please, if you would are interested in volunteering, even if you just want to come over to the church and I can show you the shelter. I assure you, everyone I have taken on a tour of the shelter has been blown away at the program. It's just absolutely incredible. So please see me if you would like to volunteer at the shelter this winter. Thank you so much.
Cool. Good morning, Evergreen. Hey, Peyton just got that red badge thing off. I just happened to have this front page article, a con for resident leads nonprofit dedicated to helping Ugandans. Just happened to have that with me. I'll pass that around. You do that? Hey, Andy. Yeah. I was just running down the road trying to loosen my load, I got a world of trouble on my mind and I'm trying to take it easy. And then on the radio, it comes on. And there's this dude like Elton John, man, he's like doing Rocket Man and he's doing Crocodile Rock. And it just had me breaking out in smiles.
Well, I got something for you. Did you know that there is an Elton John tribute concert?
No way.
Yes. Hey, February 8th
Really?
at Center Stage.
No.
Exact. Yes. Don't miss it. So go.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. What is that again?
February 8th.
Really? So it's not February 7th when there's like a big cowboy thing.
That's
going on.
right. That's
That's
right.
right. It's the next
February
night.
8th. The next night, it's all about Elton John
Cool.
and Ovation West.
What else is going on?
Well, I got to tell you that also at Ovation West, they're doing a show called Sisters of Swing.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, that's all about the Andrews sisters.
I do that.
Did you really? That opens January 24th. It goes through February 2nd. And they're actually collaborating with the Vintage Theater in Aurora. And it opened last weekend and it was sold out and rave reviews. So if you like the Andrews sisters, go check that out. Also at Ovation West. And I sent Jen the link so you can find information there.
There's got to be one more.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about that one.
Maybe February 13th.
Yes, you're right.
How many remember Firefall? Yeah, that's right. We're aging in place, but yeah. So, yeah, but Firefall with Jock, what's his name? Barkley.
Yeah, something like that.
Jock Barkley.
Yes, yes.
We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Firefall, that's when?
February 13th.
13th.
That's right. Also at Center Stage.
Pretty cool. And that's gonna benefit who, Chris? It's gonna benefit Resilience 1220, Resilience 1220 as well. And who else? Do we know? Yeah, is Michelle here? Michelle's not here. Wooden Hawk, that foundation as well has benefited. That right?
I think that's right.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
you
think
nailed
we've
it.
taken up enough of their time. Let's God have some
Okay.
support. Thanks, thank you.
All right, good morning, I'm Scott White. Isn't it funny how all the bands we recognize are tribute bands now? I don't recognize any of the live venues anymore. Anyway, I would like to give a quick update on Youth Exchange. So this year we did really well. We've got 2 students that we're sponsoring to go overseas. One of them is Alessandro Sexton is his name. He goes to East High School and we're cheating because Ruben, Alan, and I went down and interviewed good friend of Alan's, and so we're sponsoring. Anyway, he's gonna go to Germany, and then if anyone knows Lily Beach, everyone recognize that name? Okay, well, Lily's been very active in Rotary, Young Rotary and Ryla, and she's gonna be going to Brazil. She's so excited.
That's cool.
So anyway, and then we're gonna have 2 summertime students, actually our current host family, the Mazitas. We've got Cindy and Peter Mazika became members, and their two daughters have both turned in applications to go on summer exchange. I don't know where I'm gonna get them hooked up yet, but anyway, really exciting stuff.
One more kind of question. So last week I was really inspired by the paramedics that presented here and the impact they're having in the community. And a question was asked about what is the impact? And Chris acknowledged we can't afford to pay a data analyst. But it seems to me that if we could figure out the impact this is having, that is a story and a narrative that could really be amplified and have an impact way beyond this community. So I am just putting out a question. Does anybody know, have contacts at local universities in data science or public health, someone who might be interested in, I need a PhD project. This feels like a great opportunity. So, okay. And my email is gonna be in the announcement, so please do reach out, and I'm gonna try to help get the fire department connected with the kind of people who could really help tell this story and then figure out ways to amplify it.
And I get really great. Billy inspired me to get up, so thank you for that. Peyton Thomas, I'm the director of Speakers for Africa, a 501c3 nonprofit that helps vulnerable students in Uganda. Going back next month with a team from our community to dig a pit latrine. And the reason I'm up here today, I just wanted to tell you, actually, real quick, Lily Beach is awesome. We're having coffee after later today, talking about maybe a partnership with EHS and through their soccer team and our soccer teams over there. But I just think it's a really cool announcement that our team in Uganda is just met with a Rotary while you were all sleeping last night, the Rotary of Mbarara. And so they're kind of there doing that. And then, yeah, are actually at the school that we're been there all day, doing an assessment of our own. And I hope that that can fit in with a DDF kind of Rotary thing, but we needed to do one. And I just thought it'd be cool to announce that this is happening in actual real time across the world.
Wow.
Thank you. Lots going on. And Bill, I think you have a new career in singing and performance art. So, yeah. I think you're up and coming. We'll all remember you when. Don't.
Sure, and be a tribute band.
There you go. Okay, so I'll go ahead and introduce our speaker today. Tony was here a couple months ago, I think.
Yeah.
With some information for us about, he was talking about the open spaces and the forestry work they're doing. And I had multiple members reach out to me and say, hey, can he come back so we have more time to learn about this and more time to ask questions? So we don't usually bring speakers back, but we had people requested, so we did. So Tony, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a real honor to be back. This actually kicked off a speaking tour of 2 other Rotaries and a couple other presentations as well. So this has really amplified our message. And really appreciate you all having me back. Something we touched on last time is we're doing a lot of forestry work. We're cutting down a lot of trees, to be blunt. But I'm part of the natural resources team, and we really see this work as natural resource projects via forestry. And so this is actually a diagram of our team in some recent news. When I spoke last time, I was the senior forester. I'm now the resource management lead. So I've got moved up a little. I think some of my public speaking was definitely a part of that. And I'm also just really excited to announce we also finally have a senior noxious weed specialist because that is such an important part of protecting our resources, protecting our environment, our wildlife, really count on the native plants and things like that. And really the point of this slide is to show that out of the 19 permanent people we have on our team, only 3 are permanent foresters. So we really do see these as natural resource projects. Super quick refresher, because I know there's some people that are new. Most of our forests are ponderosa pine. They evolved with very frequent, very low intensity fires that cleaned out kind of the understory, killed a couple of big trees, but left kind of a mosaic-y forest. What happened was about 160 years ago, for a bunch of different reasons, fire on the landscape stopped. That let all the baby trees turn into medium trees, turn into big trees. And we now have what we call this carpet of green, where a fire can now start, climb from the bottom to the canopy really quick, and then spread from tree to tree to tree. And we're seeing these horrific, really intense wildfires now, instead of the historic low intensity fires. So that's Ponderosa Pine Fire. That was my entire presentation last time in 10 seconds. Yeah, so I've gotten better. One of the big questions we got apparently from this group was, what's next? What's happening? One of the best resources, I would just point you to our forest management webpage, where you can find pretty much all of the information that I have talked about or will talk about. But our conservation green print, which is what's shown here up on the screen, this is really like our master plan. This is what guides my day-to-day, my week-to-week, my month-to-month. And it breaks out basically 5-year goals at a time. We're nearing the end of this conservation green print, so I only have 1 year left. We're on track to meet all of our forestry goals, which is great. And what is coming up? So this year, our only big project will be at Beaver Ranch, right off 285 and Foxton Road there. So it's going to be less than 100 acres. We're kind of taking a little step back from our massive projects. This is just kind of how it played out. This isn't in response to anything. But it'll be a little bit less than 100 acres. In comparison, what we just completed at Elk Meadow was about 210. So about half that size. We are going to have some trail impacts. Something we're kind of looking forward to is this isn't a pure Ponderosa pine treatment this time. So it is a different forest type. And that means we're going to manage it a little bit differently. Some areas are actually going to be opened up a lot more. We've got some lodgepole pine stands in there. And to mimic that natural fire regime, it's more of a patchy. Everything dies in one area and everything lives in another area. We've got some spruce and some blue spruce and even some Engelmann spruce, which was really interesting. That's great. The fire regime of those species hasn't been put out of whack by humans too much. So we're going to really increase those. We've got some cool aspen stuff going on. Something we are incredibly excited and really proud about, honestly, with this is the funding for this Beaver Ranch project. Because of where it's located at the top of Foxton Road, which down at the bottom is the South Platte River. The South Platte provides about 85% of the drinking water to Denver. So this is a very urban issue located in a very rural area. Denver Water, a public utility, is funding 50% of this project because of how important this is to their water resources. I could go on and do a whole presentation on how amazing that is. It's through their Forest to Faucets plan, a partnership with the federal government. Colorado Strategic Wildfire Action Plan, COSWAP, this is a state program. They're funding 32% of this project. That's what really got this grant started, was them. Because of the value of this project, the county, us, is only paying for 18% of this project. So we're really leveraging some incredible resources to get some really cool work done. And that just shows the value of this work to me. Where it is at Beaver Ranch, we can definitely come back to this with some questions. 2 separate projects, a little bit of orientation. Here, sorry for this map, it's not my favorite. 285 over here, and then Foxton Road running down this way. So we're going to treat about 40 acres facing 285. This is where the campgrounds used to be, and the current dog park is. This has no, I'm just going to move on from the dog park. Yes. The other section, that's a question for a different presenter from open space. Yes. Our other treatment's going to be over here. This is a little bit east of the Frisbee Golf Course, so we're not going to be impacting that too much either. Love to come back to this with questions. What's happening after that? And our conservation green print is expiring this year, yeah, 2025. We're obviously renewing that, so we're in the planning processes of our next 5-year period. None of this is official. Hopefully there's a lot of question marks behind me on these 2 dates. But I can give you a little preview of what we think we're going to be doing. Lookout Mountain Nature Center and that kind of around Buffalo Bill, that's also been identified as a huge priority, so we're going to do some work there. Flying J Ranch, I'm going to say that very carefully because I know we've had some forest history over there. Our first and main focus is going to be on protecting the aspen that is still present at that park. I know it's not known for aspen, and that kind of bugs me because it should be. We have some incredible aspen resources in there, and we're going to go in there and protect them and give them some space. We also have some additional work there. It's been identified in our forest health plan as one of the most urgently needed parks for needing treatment. But we know we need to take some time after our last project there to really do it right and to make sure we're doing everything we possibly can to make that a great project. Reynolds Ranch, this is another one down Foxton. This is even more of a priority for Denver Water. This is one of their highest rated areas that still need treatments that we could possibly do. Pine Valley Ranch, this one's really exciting. That we've got some incredible historic structures down there, the Bear Den Lodge, the observatory, things like that. Really important to my natural resources team. We have some, obviously the Platte River, huge resource, but there's a federally threatened species down there and some other really cool resources that would actually benefit from forestry work. The Pawnee Montane Skipper. Aldifer, we've heard a lot of feedback. People really, yes, some of that feedback too. But honestly, a lot of people really do appreciate the work. A lot of neighbors have reached out, really grateful. And we have heard a lot of, cool, what about Evergreen Mountain? What about this other part that looks even more scary? So that's also been identified in our forest health plan, and we plan on doing something there. Again, to be determined. Others, we have some other things we're interested in. We're trying to, there we go. We're trying to get some partners. That's not all we're going to be doing. What are we doing after that? What's the long-term plan? At a community meeting, someone stood up a little upset and said, when will this end? When will it stop? To answer that question, we would direct people to our forest health plan, again, available on our website. I'm going to quote my previous supervisor here, so I feel comfortable saying this. His response was, never. The trees grow back, the vegetation grows back, the forest happened forever before us, or the fires happened forever before us. Some sort of management needs to happen forever going forward. We are not going to be doing 250 acre, 300 acre projects forever. That will not have to happen. And our forest health plan really gives us that roadmap. Our conservation green print pretty much has us already working through almost everything in this highest conservation or highest priority list by 2025. We'll have most of our work done there. Flying J, a little bit of Meyer, some things like that won't be totally covered. We will get to that by our 2023 or 2030, excuse me, conservation green print. After that, we're going to really be in this high to moderate area. We're going to start focusing a lot more on maintenance, becoming that fire, that frequent low intensity fire. I can't wait to be doing that. That's going to be a lot of volunteer projects, a lot of seedling, sapling, thinnings. So this is really where we're going after that. There's not going to be as many of these heavy duty projects after 2030. We will be doing a lot of targeted projects. Fire has really been kind of running the show with forestry right now for very obvious reasons. After that, we're going to start focusing more on these restoration projects, like these endangered species thinning enhancements and things like that. Another big question we got, and here we're gonna transition into questions, I think, pretty quick. Why do our treatments look so much different than what the fire departments or your insurance companies are recommending for your properties? And what can you be doing? Real quick, the best resource I can offer, and I have a copy up here and QR codes that lead to it, is the Home Ignition Zone Guide from the Colorado State Forest Service. They just put this out recently. It's an incredible update to what used to be called the defensible space zone. Let's just take a look at our language shift. We went from defensible space, hey, hang out here and you're good, to home ignition zone. Big shift in language. Some really key things, you know, obviously mitigation, removing vegetation, cutting down trees. That's a really important part of your defensible space. That's from the house out. But your home itself is one of the biggest fuel sources we have in our community. I started to put together some slides and some images of this, and honestly, there's enough of this stuff in the news right now. If you want to see images of what we're talking about, it's readily available. Something that's been shocking, not shocking, but just hard to see again, is how many of these homes burned, these communities burned, entire neighborhoods, and the trees are still present in a lot of their front yards. Vegetation management, obviously that's what I do for my whole job, is a huge part of this, lowering the intensity of these fires, giving people more time, creating an environment where a fire burns that we can have something afterwards. But under these extreme high wind conditions, like we walked into this morning, like we're seeing out west, even when the vegetation is managed, it's the home structure that can be so important in preventing these fires. So I want to leave a lot of time open for questions. One of the other biggest things is fire will come. Fire has been here for tens of thousands of years. It will be back again. Get ready to evacuate. Hopefully you get to come back to your home. But I lived up here for 9 years. Having a go bag is kind of important. The most important thing, have your pictures backed up, have safety stuff for your family. Those are the things you can't replace. When we lived here, we had a 5-minute, a 15-minute, and a 1-hour list. If you have to leave your house and you have 5 minutes, what are you going to grab? I guarantee you it's not a bunch of boring, you know, work documents or something like that. It's not the work laptop. It's where the photos are, it's stuff from your kids, things like that. Get a list, sign up for lookout alerts. And I've got a bunch more slides, but let's open it up for questions. Threw a lot out there. Yeah, over here.
Hi, Jeff Stone. Well, welcome back, Tony. Is Jefferson County part of a larger conversation with other entities like maybe Western US about you know, what you're doing, and if so, what are you learning from other states?
Yeah, great question. We're part of a lot of different collaboratives. The Upper South Platte Partnership is a group mainly focused kind of on the Colorado Front Range. We work a lot with Colorado Forest Restoration Institute. So they're a CSU organization, part of kind of a regional, New Mexico, Arizona. We get a lot of education from them. And then just with our kind of higher federal level plugins, that's where we're learning a lot about Western forests, and or not learning about, but collaborating with a lot of these Western forest projects. I was actually just on a webinar for about 1.5 hours yesterday with US forest representatives, you know, from all over, talking about high frequency forest fires. So a lot of our funding is through the federal level, whether it gets passed down to the state, you know, and that's how we get it or not. A lot of the research and things like that, the home ignition zone stuff, comes from a lot of the research out west. The county itself isn't so directly plugged in. Like, I don't know if our county commissioner or our county representatives, let's say, are talking to like LA county representatives. But through that kind of federal funding and guidance level, I think we're working a lot. Does that sort of answer the question? I can elaborate more.
Good morning.
Morning.
First, I think just the work that's done off of Stagecoach, I think is fantastic. So thank you.
Thank you.
I know there's a lot of vocal critics, but I think it looks great. And the forest is so much healthier. You can see the wildlife. And I know this is a different entity, but can you speak anything to the state wildlife area? And any plans for any management there? And could it be, is there a way to make it easier for homeowners to mitigate that area that buffer zone? Because right now it's a kind of an onerous process to go through their permitting.
Yeah. I
Plus
can
paying
answer.
a fee.
Yes, I can answer some of that for sure. Yeah, the Stagecoach. Again, shocking look for me. Shocking. Some of that's kind of interesting though. I think driving from Big R up to our Stagecoach parking lot. Look at that from the view of a firefighter or an evacuee. How intense is that fire going to be, right, when you get past kind of the dentist office to Stagecoach? That is thick. I've seen some videos coming from California, people evacuating that look kind of like that area. Going to Art Park, yes, it's a little more, less trees cut down. I think there's a lot of benefits, like you mentioned, wildlife, things like that. But also imagine driving through that with the fire. As far as the state wildlife area, I can't actually speak to that too much, unfortunately. I know working with the neighbors is definitely, one of our biggest challenges is how, we have a neighbor that wants to work on our property. If it's not on the list, how do we do that? The state wildlife area, I have been up there, some of their patch cuts that they've done, clear cuts would be another word for that, maybe in next door you've seen, have come back incredible with aspen, and that's where most of the wildlife is actually centered. So I know they've had success in the past with treatments, but yeah, that's a tricky one. I can follow up with you more and maybe put you in contact with some people there.
The last time you spoke, I thought it was really impressive. You explained why some trees that look like they should have been cut aren't, and why some dead crags are still allowed to remain. I just think for folks who didn't hear your presentation before, that would be worth, reminding us of it.
Definitely awesome. I kept some slides in, just in case this came up. We leave a ton of dead wood in our parks after treatments, and I get a lot of questions like, what in the heck? You said this was for fire, dead wood burns. Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't. One of the big things is where we leave dead wood. So this is a picture I took from our recent elk meadow treatment. Giant dead tree. There's even dead needles on that. That looks terrifying, right? Well, we cut a lot of the trees around it for one thing. So even if this would catch on fire, it's not really gonna cause much damage. It's not gonna spread a whole lot. And then if we zoom in some, I'll get out of the way here. You can sort of see some little holes here and then even a bigger hole here. This dead tree, when it first started dying, got invaded by all kinds of bugs, fungus, teeny tiny plants, things like that, started to decay. It became an incredible food source for all of that, tiny stuff, but then birds and larger animals too. It's becoming a home for a lot of these things. So this is almost like a buffet and a hotel for our wildlife. And the longer I'm in forestry, the longer I'm starting to value dead or dying trees more than live trees. We have a buttload of live trees. The carpet of green out there is live trees. In some of our forests, we have a real lacking of dead wood. This is one of the areas where the natural resource team that I'm part of really takes priority over the aesthetics side of open space. I get a lot of human complaints from this. I get a lot of birds chirping from this that I don't think are complaining. A lot of the dead and down on the ground. Did I keep that in? Yeah, this was another one. We leave a lot of junk, garbage. It looks like a bomb went off sometimes. Is a comment I've heard a lot of debris on the ground. First of all, that's nutrient return to the soil. Those little pieces that don't look like chips, that look really ugly, kind of arm sized or leg sized even, creates microhabitats. It helps retain moisture, even in these high wind events and things like that. This was a recent study that came out. It's hugely beneficial to pollinators to leave all of that garbage out in the woods. We consult with local firefighters before, during, and most importantly, after each one of our projects. We have the fire department walk our projects and show us, hey, did we leave too much? Is this a huge danger? And we tweak our prescriptions based on that. But yeah, we leave a lot of dead, but we're being really careful. You've had your hand up for a while. We got a mic up here.
I may have missed some of your history, you know, with Jefferson County Open Space. But I would like to give a hands up to Mike Moore, who began with Carol Carlin. Years ago, we were the first county, and I was on their board in Lakewood. When we first started the open space of Jefferson County, and we were the first county in the nation to have open space. Boulder really being the first city in the nation. And did I miss that?
I talked about that.
Is so important.
Yes, I talked about that in
I
our
was on
first
their
one, but
first
thank you for
board.
bringing it up.
And there is down at Means Meadow, a big plaque with all our names on it. And yeah, I just want you to know
Yes,
how important history is.
absolutely. Yeah, 1972, we were founded by a voter initiative put forward by the League of Women Voters. Yeah, incredible program. First in the nation, open county open space program funded by sales tax. Really incredible. We've been able to preserve an incredible amount of resources over the last 50 something years. So thank you for being part of that. Yes, thank you.
Question, are there any similarities or immediate lessons that you've learned from the California fires? They talk about fire retardant treatments and all kinds of things to protect your house, which is the source of fuel, as you pointed out. But curious if you've learned anything in the short week or two since those fires came.
Yeah, talked about this before this meeting. We don't want to speak too much to what's happening. It's a live event right now still. It seems like we're learning a lot of the lessons we've already known from the Marshall Fire, from Cameron Peak, from things like that. I cannot point to the home ignition zone guide enough. We can absolutely cut every single one of the trees down in our park system. We do not want to. I don't want that getting out there. Even if we did that, we could still have fires like we're seeing in California because of the home conditions, things like that. There's a lot of things you can do that they talk about in the home ignition zone. Some is very expensive, different new roofs, you know, things like that. All kinds of new things. There's also what I like to call just a chore list or a honey-do list. This is one of the other most important things you can do to protect your home. Cleaning your gutters. The most boring homeowner thing you can do is one of the most important firefighting activities you can do. Ember cast is what is burning down so many of these homes in California. Wildfires are a thing, but what we're seeing is like what we saw in the Marshall Fire. It's home to home ignitions. It's these flame fronts coming. It's these ember casts that are just, you know, rain. We have firefighters on scene trying to fight fires, but it's literally raining sparks. And they'll be fighting one house here, and the house next door will start to spark because of dirty gutters or because of vegetation nearby. The other big lesson is this can happen. LA is actually one of the more forward-thinking fire preventing areas. They have great home building codes now, but those have only been in effect since I think like 2008 or something like that. Just like our community, we have a lot of homes that are pre-2008. Have an evacuation plan. Don't make it harder on our first responders by creating traffic jams when the big one's coming. Take the pre-evacuation seriously, get out of other people's way. Don't stay and make yourself a problem for our first responders. Get out of their way, help yourself and help us. That would be one of the biggest lessons. Yeah.
You mentioned it and I might have missed it. Sorry, you mentioned it, I might have missed the fact that those pictures in California where there's trees, green everywhere amidst all the burned houses. And it was always so weird to me. How did all the trees survive and all the houses burned down?
Yeah, that's this home ignition zone. That's the ember casts. A lot of our vegetation is pretty good at surviving light fires. Our homes aren't. Our homes are built to, if there's a light fire, you're supposed to get a fire department to show up, right? That's been our model of 20, 30 people show up to fight one fire, you know? We can't do that with 100 homes. We certainly can't do that with 1,000 homes. So building our homes a little bit different. It's just this constant, you know, ember cast. That's I guess the theme of the day maybe. It's like someone just running around holding 1,000 little lighters to your house.
Why don't they burn the trees? The embers fall on the trees.
It'll burn a little. A lot of it, the trees still retain moisture because they're a biological entity instead of just a home. So they do have a little more moisture. There's not as much flammable. They'll kind of burn out. A home, as soon as that gets into your soffit, up into your roof, teeny flame, it just has more and more and more fuel. So homes are almost built once they're kind of infiltrated to be fueled. So it's some big shifts on that. Cleaning your gutters, getting the vegetation 5 feet away from your home. Yeah, huge.
Thank you for all your information. We at Rotary here, we have Rotary Wildfire Ready. And all of this information is on that website as well. And Cindy, I saw her on the Zoom. We are working closely with the Colorado Forestry Service. We got a wonderful $15,000 grant from them this last year to work specifically with them on sharing our materials that will be cohesive. And so I'm glad to see that you understand what our new terminology is going to be. The other thing in terms of our homes, a lot of the homes are being burnt from the inside out because the embers come into the house. The little cracks, like you said, in the soffit, if you don't have your roof clean, if you don't have your gutters clean, if you have places where those little embers will go and stick in there and collect the heat from those embers, is what's going to cause your house to ignite. It's the heat. And then also any kind of screening on your vents in your house, any kind of screening on your fireplaces, anything where an ember can come into your house is also very important. Any nooks and crannies that those things can collect next to your house, be very aware of that.
A lot of sweeping, a lot of chores. Thank you, Lori.
Hi, so I had a comment and a question.
Yeah.
Something I thought was kind of fun. Last night I was listening to Jimmy Kimmel and he had an announcement. He was interviewing the mayor of Altadena, California, where they've had fires. And he asked what people can do. And his response was, right now for fundraising, their most trusted source is altadena.rotary.org, which is a neat tie-in.
Wow.
My question is, over the years, I've been cleaning my gutters and collecting, pine needles and things. What do you do in open space with this stuff? Because now I'm accumulating piles of dried out debris around my property.
Definitely. In open space, I'm a little bit luckier. We have different I'm more managing in this zone 3, really far out, this yellow zone. That's most of where my work happens. So the needles and stuff like that aren't as key. We can leave that stuff out there. For homeowners though, you guys really are working structural ignitability zones 1 and 2. You want to get that stuff out of there. I also, on all of the tables, we have a little card for our slash program. They started accepting needles, I believe, last year. It was very difficult, incredibly expensive. So if you see someone from the slash program, give them a big thank you. It's very hard for them, but they can actually take it. Burn piles. It's a lot easier for private citizens to do slash piles. So, when you thin in a big open area, you would make a pile. You can work with your fire department and they'll help you get that going. Yeah, getting rid of this biomass is one of the biggest challenges of our mitigation.
Should we be
Follow?
trying to get it off property?
At least get it out of your zone 1 and 2. Get it from zone 1 to zone 2, that's great. Get it from zone 2 to zone 3, even better. But yeah, if you can get it off your property, definitely. That is one of the things where our forests have gone out of whack. Pine needles are supposed to fall on the ground, they fall out of pine trees, but what should have happened is we should have had these, natural fires to clear and burn a lot of that stuff. So you're kind of replicating nature by throwing them away.
Question.
Zone
2, 5 to 30.
So zone 1 is 0 to 5 feet. That's like right up against your house. That's a lot of what Lori was talking about, the piles of needles or whatever kind of by the corner of your house or the firewood stacked up under your deck. The zone 2 is from 5 out to 30 feet. So that's where you get to have some vegetation. It gets to start looking like the woods again, things like that, but you still gotta be careful. You gotta prune it, you gotta keep it careful. Zone 3 gets to look a lot more like woods, but more natural woods, something you might see at an open space park. You can maybe have a couple dead trees, probably not, shouldn't have a lot. But really cleaning out those ladder fuels and things like that.
You had a point about building codes and you talked about 2008.
Yes.
You talked about California. What I'm concerned about, I was a banker, I did a lot of construction lending, and regulations and everything changed. It happened with the Marshall Fire, where you go to rebuild, you can't.
Right.
Due to the regulations that are at 2008, they changed everything, so you can't rebuild. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, great question. I think, yeah, it's a bit of a cop out, you guys could probably expect. I can only comment so much within the forest management. That really is my expertise. The county, that's one of the big considerations why the county doesn't just say, all right, everyone has to make concrete homes with metal roofs and a sprinkler system. Or say up here, hey, your home is 50 years old. You've been in Evergreen forever. You need to rebuild. That's not what we're looking at. The county, I will say, at higher levels, they're looking at funding sources. How can we help pay for mitigation? How can we help pay for things like that? What I am allowed to say is because of the passage of 1A recently, the debrucing of JeffCo, Jefferson County, our emergency management office, where the fire management officer is housed, is looking like it will grow immensely. That is going to directly relate to a huge increase in fire prevention, a lot of thinning and stuff, hopefully on private property, which is, I feel like JeffCo's open space is doing a pretty good job. People need help. And that's where the county, I think, is really trying to step in. Yeah, the regulations are a double-edged sword. Someone's gonna have to cut me off on time because I'm just gonna stand up here all day. Okay.
So we've been talking
Okay.
about trees that's out there.
Yes.
So there's a great book called Rating Sweetgrass,
Yes.
which really gives us an idea of the entire ecosystem. One point that you brought up that hasn't been mentioned here in your last presentation is our trees, as they at this time are under high stress. And by thinning, actually what we're doing is we're providing nutrition to those trees so they can survive the stress.
Yes.
And I think we're thinking more ecologically now about why we thin, to allow those trees that remain to be healthier. And that's why you're taking them out at different stages, including those that are dead.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this really is a big theme of grading sweetgrass is a return to indigenous knowledge and the knowledge that we've had in the past. A lot of this isn't new. There's oral history of our native tribes going back 10,000 years of them using land or fire as a land management tool. It's the Rocky Mountains. When the European settlers got here, they didn't call them the lush green mountains, the heavily forested mountains. It was the Rocky Mountains. This is a desert. It's dry here. I came from Ohio. For me to expect forests like Ohio to be out here is not normal. I know a lot of people from California, you know, the West Coast. We don't get the same forest. Sorry, it's a desert. There were very limited resources for our trees, for our vegetation out here. And that's what these historic forests were kind of used to. Space, they had enough resources. When we're in, you know, this second picture here with fire being excluded for the last 150 years and all of this extra vegetation coming in, there's still just a desert's amount of water. There's a Rocky Mountain amount of soil nutrients. It's went from this to this. Imagine 3 times as many people in here. Not as much room. Imagine trying to share your breakfast or dinner with, you know, 30 times as many people. You're not going to have as much nutrients. That's what our forests are going through. Green is not always good. I get that a lot. Why are you cutting that tree? It looks healthy. Our trees are suppressed. They're barely hanging on. They're starved already for, let's just pick on water. So they're very, you know, droughted anyways, because it's the Rocky Mountains. When they're competing for that water, they're at even worse shape. Then a drought comes through. I mean, we're now, you know, 3 problems deep. Then a fire, then bugs, then. By having this overcrowding, we're just really setting ourselves up for a lot of vulnerability. There's not as much resilience in our forests. We're also seeing these horrible catastrophic fires that replace everything. Sometimes even including the soil activity, which really is where most of our biological activity happens. Yeah, awesome.
Thank you so much, Tony. I think we're at time, but thank you for coming back.
Thank you all very much.
Oh, last time we did this also, but Rotary is working to eradicate polio from the world. So as a thank you for being here, we will be donating 60 doses of polio vaccine in your name. So
Thank you very much.
Just let you all know, thank you very much to the people who stepped on our breakfast committee. Breakfast will be coming back next week. So we will have breakfast again starting next week. Thank you very much to Adrienne and her entire team. They put in a lot of work and effort to make it happen. So with that in mind, go out and share the magic of Rotary with the community and the world around you. Goodbye.
Thank you.